we're not a tree. If we don't have good soil and good water, we could move on to another area. And I believe capitalism is normal. People are greedy, but that's good. Greed is good.
And make 60K or make 2 million. Obviously, there's limitations to certain things you can do.
There's no limitation for anything. Yeah. We're in America.
Water Buffalo TM is back with another Buff Talk.
3, 2, 1. Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Old School Matt here. We're back with another Buff Talk, and today we're joined by a special guest, Professor Farhat. First off, I just wanted to say, through the power of social media, I've been watching his videos for a very long time now, and just being able to meet him and, being greeted by so many messages from my colleagues saying, oh my God, you got to hang out with Professor Farhat. You got to talk to him, you have his number, oh my God, to ask him this, it's incredible. And the amount of social networking this guy has done in the past couple of years is astonishing. And we just want to welcome to our show, welcome Professor Farhat to Buff Talk.
Matt, thank you very much. And I'm so glad that we exchanged that message on Instagram right before I'm coming to South Florida. And he said, well, let's meet in person then, and I'll answer your questions about the CPA exam. That was a great coincidence, actually.
For sure. And I wanted to talk to Professor Farhat, not only about accounting stuff today, but we wanted to get on a discussion with his incredible growth online and just his story. Because like I was talking to him about earlier, like the different people you watch online, the different personalities you get on social media, you don't know who you're talking to, you don't know who you're interacting with, and then when you start following someone's journey, you don't really know much about them until the time where they start posting more personal stuff and they start getting into their philosophies of life. And that's kind of like what I wanted to get on this podcast today with Professor Farhat, is what different philosophies, what different areas did he work in before doing all the CPA stuff, and just what is Professor Farhat about? Who is he? So Professor Farhat, if you wouldn't mind kind of introducing everybody what you do, but then dig a little deeper, maybe talk about your path to your CPA and what you did before doing all the online YouTube stuff for accounting.
Absolutely, Matt. And I'm very impressed with your YouTube channel, and your social media presence is pretty impressive, by the way.
Thank you.
In certain areas like Instagram, you're way above what I do. I mean, I can learn from you as well. Basically, my undergraduate degree was not accounting. Actually, I was a finance major. That's the funny part about all of this. And I always advise finance majors don't study finance, and they'll ask why. I said, because I studied finance, and it's not in your best interest. Not that it's not a bad thing, but I would always encourage you to go for accounting. So when I started my career, I started as a loan officer, then a stockbroker, and it wasn't my cup of tea. And when the financial crisis occurred in 1999-2000, I had some interest in accounting, specifically auditing and fraud, because when Enron collapsed, WorldCom, all the news was about accounting fraud, and that triggered my interest in accounting. And the other thing that triggered my interest in accounting is when I was a stockbroker, well, actually, I had my stock brokerage license, but I wasn't a stockbroker. I was basically handling accounts for Merrill Lynch, specifically the employee stock purchase plan, employee stock option plans, and employee stock purchase plan for companies like Tyco, PepsiCo, Intel. And I would always get this question, what are the tax consequences if I exercise my options? And we're supposed to say, well, consult with your tax advisor. And the truth is, I did not really know what was the tax consequences in case someone exercised their stock options. But that also triggered my interest. I'm starting to learn that there's more need. People are interested in learning about their tax situation. I was starting to see the importance of accounting when it comes to finance, because accounting influenced finance, because the fraud was occurring from an accounting people rather than finance people. And I wanted to learn a little bit more about accounting forensics. So I went back and picked up my prerequisite courses. Like I took 5 additional accounting courses to pick up my prerequisite. Then I went back and studied accounting on a graduate level to sit for the CPA exam. So this was the beginning of my journey as a CPA. So just finance did not work for me. I find out accounting is interesting. So I said, everybody's going to go for their master's degree. So why not study master's in accountancy? So that's the beginning of it. Now for teaching, that's another story. It was part of my master's degree, but this is what piqued my interest in accounting. Basically, the financial accounting crash of 99-2000 and getting inquiries from clients. What are the tax consequences? And it bugged me. Why can't I answer them? What are really the tax consequences?
And that only has to do with investment portfolios, or that?
Exactly. Basically, their companies will grant them options to buy the stock price, option to buy the stocks at a certain price. But they were asking me, what happened if we exercise the option, then we sell the stock? And I did not really know. I did not know about how they treat cost basis, and they wanted to know, and we were not allowed to say anything. It's like I chose not to. Yeah. I did not know, and even if I knew, I'm not allowed to say anything. But that triggered my interest. What are the tax consequences? And this is what I started to look more into accounting as a potential career, rather than being, frankly, what I was. I considered myself a high-paid customer service, because that department specifically at Merrill Lynch was already closed out. Because starting 2000, 2001, all these accounts were online, and customers could access their accounts online rather than talking to someone just to handle their account. So it was like basically technology eliminated that position anyhow.
Interesting. So like, I mean, obviously nowadays you can go on like Robinhood and trade stocks, but you're saying when you were getting into the workforce, it was more of people would call in and see their portfolios and whatnot.
Yes, basically you would not be able to see your portfolio online, because, and especially Merrill Lynch were behind, like they were a year or two behind technology. At that point, E-Trade was starting. So if you had an account on E-Trade, you would go log in, sell your shares, exercise your options. But if you had an account with Merrill Lynch, you had to either call or visit their office.
Well, at what point, like what year did you get your CPA?
Good question, because I started the process to thinking about getting my CPA in 2002, 2003. It took me 6 years, from 2000 to 2003, until I was licensed in late 2009. I believe late 2009, yes. The first 2 years, I had to go back and take some prerequisite courses like intermediate accounting, cost accounting, auditing, tax courses that I did not take as an undergraduate. Then it took me another year to finish my master's degree. That's almost 2.5 years. Then worked 2 years in the industry, then studied for the exam, then get licensed. So the point that I'm trying to make, if you don't get it right away, immediately right after college, it may take you several years, but the journey is worth it. So it took me 6 years from the time I decided I wanted to be a CPA until I became a CPA. So it's a long process. You have to have the stamina. Don't give up. Again, it took me 6 years. And I passed on the first attempt on all sections, but it does take time. If you need to take prerequisite courses, if you need to study, sometimes you may pass a section or two, then something happens, lose those sections and start again. You do it, you start again. Because once I pass, you only need, I always tell my viewers at the end of my YouTube, you only have to pass once in your lifetime. That's all you have to do. And it's going to pay you dividend forever. I don't mean dividend in terms of money. Yeah. Of course, money, status, professionalism, networking. If I'm not a CPA, I would not be standing here in front of you today, as well as many other opportunities. So it opens a lot of doors for you.
Interesting. Interesting point you hit on is you only have to pass once. So like you can fail. Is there a limitation for how many times you can fail?
They don't care as long as you pay your fee. Yeah. They want you to fail.
Exactly. That's an interesting topic that I wanted to kind of explore too. Is like you only have to pass once. So like in life, a lot of times you have to pass more than once. A lot of different things. So like a lot of people that I've come across, even friends in the accounting school that are like, oh, I don't know, I'm not sure if I'm going to do my CPA. And this is a small minority, but there's also other people out there from different schools that aren't pushed as hard to get their CPA at getting their accounting degree at whatever other school. Maybe because of low pass rate percentages, maybe because it's too difficult. Why do you say this, you only have to pass once thing? And I get the philosophy behind it, but kind of explain if you can.
Absolutely. Few things in life where you have to work them one time and finish. Like think about this, because you're in the physical, gym and physical. Think about if you can only work 1 month in your lifetime and be fit forever. Yeah. How would you like this? Wouldn't you work very hard at that? Yeah. Because you just have to do it for 1 month. So the point that I'm trying to make is, it's not like you're going to have to study forever and lose all those weekends and night forever. You're going to have to do it for a period of time. It's going to build your character. It's going to add your knowledge. Actually, you're going to forget all the knowledge anyway, but it's going to build your character. It's going to increase your education, like from a knowledge perspective, and that's it. And you may not see this information again. Do it. Get the CPA and move on with your life.
You think the CPA material is like useful? Honestly,
no. I mean, you learn about so many different things. Yeah. You have to learn about econ. You have to learn about cost accounting. there's one section about auditing. You may never be an auditor, never in your whole career. Or you one section about tax, and if you work in audit, you never do taxes. It just, they want to make sure is you have a comprehensive knowledge about the industry. So if you wanted to switch to do taxes, you have enough background to start. That's all what's to it. It tells the employers, it tells the industry that this individual, they're capable of learning. That's all what's to it. Yes, you do learn in college, but not all colleges are the same. And this is, I'm finishing my doctorate, and it's about passing the CPA exam and how different schools have different pass rate and why, trying to explain this.
That's your thesis?
Yes, my thesis is comparing for-profit proprietary institutions like DeVry, Strayer, Phoenix, to other institutions. So I'm trying to compare their performance, which is below par, to other colleges and universities. And
figure out why.
There's a discrepancy for sure, but figuring out why, I'm trying to select comparable schools, and this is the most difficult thing, because the population that attends Strayer, DeVry, and Phoenix, it's a different demographics than other schools. So I'm trying to select a comparable group where I can compare the two. But the point is, that's why even if you go to school and get an accounting degree, it's not the same as passing the exam, because the exam is a uniform exam. So it's across the whole world. Even if you're taking it in Dubai, in Tokyo, in Rio de Janeiro, it's all the same. It's the same exam. It's uniform. So it's going to test your knowledge, because you might go to a school where you'll get A's, you graduate, but you're not really competent in your field, or it's not as rigorous as other schools. So the CPA exam will tell the employer, look, this individual can learn, this individual can, if they can learn, it means they can be trained. If they can be trained, they can do the work, let's hire them. That's all what's to it. That's just certification. It's going to help you. It's going to help open doors for you. Now, what you do with your CPA, you could make $60,000 a year for the rest of your life,
like
up to 80. Exactly. Or you can make $2 million a year if you're a partner. So it's all up to you. Yeah. Or you can be, I'm an educator. You can be anything.
Everyone has a space for themselves in an industry, and kind of like what you were saying, you could be a CPA and make $60K, or make $2 million, or make $100 million. You never know. Obviously, there's limitations to certain things you could do.
There's no limitation,
but there is no limitations
for anything. Yeah. We're in America.
Exactly, and I think that's something that you kind of kind of hammered down to me as well. And this is something that I've kind of discovered on my own, but as hearing from someone like yourself, the CPA gives you access to a small, or maybe not small, but a group of people. So you're part of like not a club, but you're part of like, I guess, a club.
It is a club. It is a club.
And if you have, these skills that go a little bit above and beyond than the average CPA, you're able to network and kind of get around this club with a little bit, with like a badge, let's just say, for example. And it's such a great kind of thing to think about, because if you're getting your CPA and you're like, I'm just going to be like everybody else, and I'm going to have to work like on the conveyor line of the accounting, maybe like you said, for 2 years or so.
You have to at the beginning to learn the industry, to learn all the tricks and everything. Yes,
but it's not the end all be all. And I think you are probably the embodiment of that.
I would say party with Papin is.
Yeah. Well, you are the embodiment of success for that, because you've taken your CPA, and you've obviously, that was, I guess, the starting point to all of this learning and teaching and whatnot. And you've monetized it to the point to where you're like, on a level that a lot of people will probably never reach. Not because they can't, just because they won't work hard enough.
Yes.
But what are your thoughts for people out there that are in that mindset of like, oh, I'm only going to make, X amount of money as a CPA. Is it even worth the time? Aside from like what we talked about a little bit prior, like the hard work and goes into it. Like what else is embodied with that CPA certification?
Absolutely. When you're a CPA, you're not an employee. Okay. When you're a CPA, I wouldn't say, it's not even a career. It's not even a professional. When you're a CPA, you are building your empire, because at every assignment you get, being a CPA, that's a knowledge, that's expertise you have learned. And the harder and the more frustrated you're going to feel, the stronger you're going to come on the other end. So once you work on a problem with a client, and you solve that problem, guess what? Now you have the key for that next client. It may not be the same, but you already went through it. And 2-3 years down the road, where you faced 20, 30, 50 different issues and you solve them, you're going to be very valuable. There is no manual for being a CPA. No 2 days are the same. No AM session versus PM session. Each client is different. Each business will have a different problem. They may be in the same industry, they'll have different issues. But once you know how to solve a problem for one client, it will be easier for you to solve it for the second. And when you get the problem with the third, you're going to look like an expert because you learned from the first and the second. And take all this knowledge, accumulate this knowledge, and it's going to pay a huge dividend in terms of competency and professionalism. And that's why every time you learn something, it's like you add it to your arsenal. You're going to use it down in the next battle. And as you go along, that arsenal of weaponry, of knowledge, just going to get stronger and stronger.
Yeah. And if, like you're kind of saying, like if you can apply yourself in your own little niche or have something in that industry where you're a part of the, let's just say 1%, but then you're in that 1% of that 1%, you're very different from everybody else.
Absolutely.
You know, you can definitely market yourself or use those skills. Just using myself, for example, me and Professor Farhat, we're talking about just some different things I can do on my own personal brand. You know, marketing myself as kind of like the fitness guy, and let's just say of CPAs, and let's just say even Florida, it has enough, you know, people to make a killing for the rest of your life, and then also do CPA stuff on the side, you know, or whatever it might be,
of course,
or work for a firm or whatever it might be. And like Professor Farhat just showed the other, you know, what most people will think that's kind of extreme, you know, someone who's selling sex toys,
yes,
as a CPA to other CPAs. You said
she will come in when we have CPEs, like continuous professional education, and she will introduce herself. Her name is Papin, and she's a CPA. Her name, CPA. It's like, okay, what do you do? That's how you network. It's like, okay, yeah, I sell adult toys. You know, sometimes she tell them, you know, to invite their wives. She'll have a party, or if it's a female CPA, she'll just tell them, you know, let's, you know, have a group meeting and I'll show you my product. And she has the credibility because she's a CPA, so everybody knows that, you know, she belongs there, but that's her business.
Interesting.
And you know, she does very well, frankly. Yes.
Interesting.
Because she's more targeting a specific group. And that's why, as you just mentioned, for you being you would understand, like if you are training someone, you become a CPA, you understand their work-life schedule. So it's easier for you to deal with this.
Exactly.
Perfect. Yes.
You know, and that's another thing is, let's talk about public accounting.
Yes.
Let's get into that a little bit, because I myself don't work in public accounting. I don't know when I will, if I will, or whatever the future may hold. But for those out there that are, you know, going to go into public accounting as either, you know, fresh out of school, or maybe, you know, going into it, well, the path is out of school, public accounting, and then CPA after a couple of years, right? That's the general path.
That's the path. Yes.
What's your recommendations for them?
Definitely, and I encourage you, because you're even contemplating to go into public accounting, everyone should go through it. 2 to 3 years, then decide whether you want to stay or leave. And you will know at that point whether you want to stay or leave. The reason is this: public accounting, it's you're going to learn on the job. There's, again, as I mentioned, there is no manual. If you work in private accounting for a company, they might have a manual. They might have a specific general ledger that they use, and that's it. You will study it. You would learn it. You might find difficulty the first time they do the adjustments and the closing, the first quarter, the second quarter, you would learn it. By the end of the year, you're comfortable with their adjustments, closing, because it's for one company. In public accounting, you're working for many different companies, many different clients. It's a fluid situation. And in public accounting, the first thing you have to learn or admit to is you're going to learn how much you don't know. And I'm pretty sure if first or second year staff listening to me, they're going to understand that you are constantly learning. And once you accept this fact, once you accept this reality that being a CPA is, the first thing is knowing how much you don't know. And I'm not saying the first and second year, even seniors, managers, partners, they constantly learn. And once you accept this, you become a successful accountant. Why? Because it doesn't bother you anymore. Frankly, it used to bother me a lot. And that's part why, well, many reasons why I left the industry, but that's one part of it where I did not like this idea. As a teacher, you look at the whole thing. It's like, I want to understand everything inside out. In the real world, you can't understand because there's always some exception, something different. And this is what you deal with. If everything was easy, strict, then the computer can do it. But there's always some sort of a twist
Ambiguity,
in accounting. Yeah. Exactly. And this is where you need a person, a professional judgment, that adjusting entry to fix that account, to back out that amount that the system would not be able to figure out on their own. But that's the beauty of it. This is where you can add the value. And as you're doing so, you're looking at the business as a whole, but you have to accept that you don't know much constantly. And it bothers some people. But once you learn this, for example, I would go to the senior accountant and they can't answer my questions because they're dealing with something else, or they don't know how to solve my problem because they never solved it. Like, you're a senior, you should know it. No, I don't. I don't. Even you ask the manager, they may not be able to help you. But that's the beauty of it. You have to roll up your sleeve, get your hands dirty, solve the problem yourself. And this is what makes you, those are the weapons to your arsenals. When you learn all those things, then you are good for the future. You're adding value to yourself, adding value to your future customers, to your future employers. What I mean by employers, customers, because really you always want to think, as I told you at the beginning, not as an employee, you think as an entrepreneur, or you're building your own empire. And this is how you succeed in public accounting. Don't think that you're an employee, although you are, but at some point, you become a partner. If you're in public accounting, your ultimate goal is a partner. A partner means an owner. Owner means you're an entrepreneur. And a lot of people say,
you say entrepreneur or intrapreneur?
Entrepreneur, like entrepreneurship.
With an E. Have you heard of entrepreneurship before?
That's a major, entrepreneurship.
No, people say, or this, it's kind of like a made up term. Entrepreneur is like someone who goes out there and start their own business.
Yes.
Intrapreneur is like a made up term, but a lot of people say it's like, when you're starting in a company, you start small and you work your way up to becoming something like a partner. Yes. I was curious if you use that word, because I have not many people use it, but I have a guy who I watch a lot of his stuff. He uses it, talking about how you can start in a company and almost become like the owner through slowly working your way up. But sorry to interrupt. Anyway.
Actually, in public accounting, that's
exactly.
your path.
Yeah.
So here's what I'm going to tell everyone that's listening to me. If you're interviewing, say, what's your eventual goal? Be a partner. You want to tell them that, for one thing, you understand the process, because the way it works in public accounting, you start as a staff, and says basically you have zero value, and they're going to train you for 2 to 3 years. Once they see that you can do the job, they can rely on you. They're going to be hiring other staff. They move you to a senior to kind of help, and you really don't help them, but that's the point. Then after that, then you could become a manager. Then you become a director, then basically 4 or 5 steps, and then you become a partner. And you can become a partner faster as long as you're bringing clients, as long as they see that you are selling product to the customers. Well, the partners are like, wow, this is an individual that's going to contribute to the company. Let's move them up. I mean, I know, like, since we're talking about this, I know a partner where I used to work. They had like 22 partners. One of them I worked with for like 5 months. Accounting-wise competency, literally 0. He doesn't know anything about accounting, but
CPA.
Yes, he's a CPA. Yes, it doesn't. Even if you pass the exam, it doesn't mean you know anything. As I told you at the beginning, you're going to learn how much you don't know. But the guy is so good at networking with other people, especially with sports, local sports, college, and national level. Like, he will talk to you about sports. He can connect with you on that level. And he will bring clients through the door, like, because he's just very good at this. And he became a partner. But from a competency perspective, he was nothing. Yeah. So going back to the point where if you want to have your own business, you would start as a staff accountant, but eventually, because many people tell me, I like to have my own business. Well, yeah, that's not really a plan. Yeah. But if that's what you like to do, start in public accounting, study accounting, get your CPA, work in a CPA firm. And the CPA firm, they want you to be the owner. Because think about it. If someone is 60 years old and they hire you, how long are they going to stay in the industry? 10, 15 years, then eventually they're going to get out. They want someone to take over that business, because if you take over the business, they'll get some royalty, and then you become the partner and you have your own business. It's like, that's why accounting and being a CPA is a great career for anyone. Yeah. And the good thing about accounting is, if you like sports, you can go into be in accounting for sports company, or start in public accounting, then move into sports company. You like advertisement, you like software. So you can work in any industry, because all industries will need an accountant. You cannot have a company, a large or medium-sized company, without an accounting department. Exactly. So it opens so many different doors for you. Consultancy, banking, you name it.
Exactly. And then, like you were saying earlier, the totem pole, or whatever it's called, of degrees is like a business major can't do much. Right after college,
you don't have much knowledge.
Yes. A finance major can do everything a business major can do, plus finance.
Yes.
An accounting major can do everything a finance major can do, and business. So, like, that's the reason why I got into accounting at UF, was because if I do business, I could be out of here in 3 years. And then, did I learn much? I had to get my business degree before I could even start most of my accounting classes. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? And most of the time, that's how it is.
Think of it this way. Here's I'm going to give you another analogy. I can assure you, any company can pick up someone from high school and give them the same type of work that they can give to someone with a business degree. But it doesn't work the same way. You cannot pick up someone from high school and tell them, do some accounting work. Put them on a 1040 or 1120 or 1065. Okay, prepare this 1065. They won't be able to do it. But a college students with an accounting degree can. Versus if you're a business major, what real value added are you adding? I mean, once you have experience, it's good. But
and no disrespect to anyone who has a business major.
Of course, I was a finance major, for God's sake. No. We're encouraging you to think bigger. That's all.
100%.
And obviously, I'm going to encourage them to go for accounting. I'm biased.
Yes.
And whoever knows me know that I always do that. Even in my classroom, a lot of people get upset and insulted, even in my classroom.
But see, here's the thing: with an accounting major, you could get a minor in marketing. You could get a minor in finance.
Exactly.
And I'm not because I'm an accounting major. I'm not biased either. A lot of people know, like, I'm not the fondest of school. I'm not like the Mr. Study guy all the time. I work hard for when I have to.
That's it.
But I think there's other ways of learning, especially with you. Like if and to sidetrack real quick, if I had to go back and start college all over again, and I had to put a comprehensive plan on how I'm going to be the best accountant I would be, I would say, forget about University of Florida. If it was in a magical fairy tale land, I would watch all your videos because you cover all the topics.
Yes.
There's a lot of fluff in the school that you learn for no reason.
Yes,
you know, and unfortunately, it's part of like the state's requirements and stuff like that. And I'm not trying to have an argument between what's the best way of schooling, but like, you know, for accounting, there's so much you can do on all, because you have to learn about everything in business in each school. So that's why I recommend, like, to a lot of my friends that are younger than me, hey, I'm in business. I'm like, you should do accounting, because you should do accounting, and then you can get a minor in entrepreneurship. You can get a minor in marketing. You can get a minor in ISOM or dual major. But accounting is like the hierarchy of the business school, in my opinion.
100%. I agree.
Networking story.
Absolutely. When I started teaching, there was a big, long debate between my wife and I. It's going to be boring. How many times can you teach the same course? She was correct, but I promised her that I will do something on the side to keep myself active. So I started to attend, those certified financial CFEs, continuous professional education, which is partly what Papin would attend, people like that who are trying to keep their CPAs. And at that point, I was also trying to teach at other universities, local universities, as an adjunct, because, you'll make extra money. And I kept sending resumes out, and no one ever responded to me. And one night, I met a guy named John Falk. And maybe he would be listening. John. So John told me his wife, Marianne, she worked at the Sales University. She's in charge of the MBA program, and they're always looking for good professors. Like, well, I sent them 10, 15 resumes. I've been sending them, and no one responded. He's like, oh, just, I'll talk to her. Next day, Marianne called me. They brought me. It's like, okay, we had an interview with the dean, and they gave me 2 classes, and I started to teach part-time at the Sales. At the Sales University, what they do, they have quarterly meeting for professors, and basically it's good food, good drinks. So as an adjunct, it's optional. So I said, I should go there, and that's why I'm going into the importance of networking. So I went there. I met a guy named Chris Kokoza. So through John, I met his wife Marianne. At the Sales, I met Chris. Chris Kokoza worked for Becker CPA review course. So Chris asked me, are you interested in, will you be interested in teaching for Becker? At that point, Becker was still teaching physical classes, like in Philadelphia, in the Lehigh Valley, in physical location. I said, yeah, sure. So through Chris, I was introduced to a guy named Michael Brown.
Is he the main guy at CPA?
One of the national professors now.
Is he the one that yells at the screen?
Oh, no. That's Alento. That's Peter Alento. No. On the contrary, Mike is very calm.
Oh, okay.
Mike, he teaches auditing.
Okay.
Mike, very, very calm. So introduced me to Mike, and to teach for Becker, the first night you sit in the class, then the next class you co-teach. You teach half of the class, and Mike will teach the other half. Then at the end of the class, Mike will either sign, say, yes, it's good, we're going to hire this guy, or no. So I happened to co-teach with Mike. So I met Mike. So through Chris, I met Mike. So Mike said, yes, Mansour is a good professor. We can, he's qualified to teach. So I met Michael. 2 years later, after I started teaching for Becker, I moved to Westchester in Pennsylvania. There's a local university. Same thing. I kept sending resumes, trying to teach there. No chance. Until Mike once told me, he teaches there, they're looking for a position. So I was like, okay, sure, I'm willing to teach there. So they didn't even interview me because Mike recommended me, just gave me the job. So notice how the networking works. 2 years ago, I was invited to the accounting club at Westchester University, and I thought I was going to be an attendee. So I brought my 3-year-old son because, I thought he's going to go sit there with pizza, something for him to do. And the session was about CPA Q&A session. But what happened is I was not really an attendee. I was being invited to be on the panel with Becker, Roger, Gleam, and Wiley as a CPA course provider. I walked in and I saw my picture on the board. And it's like I have my 3-year-old son. Everyone was wearing a suit. I was wearing a sweater with the jeans. It's like, what's going on here? It's like, oh no, you're going to be on the panel. Wow. So I had to figure out what to do. Actually, it's on my LinkedIn. If you go to my LinkedIn profile and you scroll through it, and it happens that Chris Kakoza, the person that introduced me initially to Becker, to this industry, was there meeting, representing Becker. So the point is, I started small, like just teaching for them. And at some point, not by all means, I'm not a competitor for any of them, but the point is I was treated by Westchester University at par. And all of this through simple networking from Marianne to from John to Marianne to Chris to Mike to Westchester University.
It's interesting because I have the same mindset. Do you do that on purpose or are you just on accident?
On accident. You don't network on purpose. You network because you like networking. So always network when you don't need it, because you never know when you're going to need someone for networking. So don't ever network to get a job. That's not what you do it. You don't buy an umbrella while it's raining. You buy it before it's starting to rain.
No, interesting you say that, though. The way it worked out is that's typically how networking works out. It works out in the sense that, like, I've never intentionally networked. I don't network for a job, but I know that there's certain people that I can speak to, and I'll tell you maybe off camera, but there's like certain strategic people I introduce myself with to position myself in a point to where I'm not, if I need something from them later down the road, it's not like a, hey, I need this from you. It's more like, hey, we've been friends for a while. You know what I'm saying? But I definitely agree that a lot of organic, just, hey, what's your name? Well,
exactly.
It's been some of the best relationships I've made in my entire life have been by not accident, but because I made the opportunity by saying, let me put my nerves aside and let me just reach out and say, hey, because what a lot of people don't realize is that when you're at these networking events or you're at school or you're at the gym or wherever you are, the person you're approaching is equally as nervous, if not more nervous than you.
Of course.
So the fact that you came out and you made yourself more available to them calms both of your nerves, because now it's off your chest and they're like, oh wow, this person is, they feel like I'm able to communicate with them, and they're a person too. Same thing goes for dating or anything. If both people at the end of the stick are more than likely equally as nervous, if not the person that you think is going to be more like, oh, who are you? Or, get away from me. They're probably more nervous than you. And it only takes one hello or one common factor for you to turn into a friend.
Exactly.
And
if there's no factor, we're both human.
Yeah, exactly.
If that's the most common factor. Networking is a powerful tool for your success. So if you're networking, learn how to network. If you're scared, try it little by little. Attend. Learn how to shake hands, smile, how to relate to people. And
just through social media, it makes it so much easier now. Like when I reached out to you, I didn't know if you were going to answer or not. I just wanted to thank you. I forgot what I said. I sent you a message saying, like, how you doing? Thank you for all the help. And like, now I'm hanging out. We had lunch together. We're doing a podcast, and we're going to have a friendship that probably will last for the rest of the time. You know what I mean?
And through us, we're going to be connected. Through you, I'm going to meet other people. And through you, you're going to meet other people.
Exactly.
I mean, I met so many different people on LinkedIn. In person, like in New York City, they invited me to speak at their colleges. Also, if you're not on social media, like LinkedIn or Instagram, if you're listening to us,
get on
the power of that. You have to. You can. This is how you connect the people in the same industry. If you don't have a YouTube channel, start one. If you don't have a LinkedIn profile, start a professional one.
But I'll include this. Start one for the right reasons. Don't start Instagram, or don't start using. Professor Farhat says use Instagram more, and you're all day just like this.
No, that's not what it's for.
And I catch myself doing it sometimes. I'm a human being.
We're guilty.
But a lot of times, people use social media for the wrong reasons, but use it for the right reasons. The same way, people will get the the CPA paid for their firm. And I've heard a lot of my friends that have dropped out is like they get super overwhelmed by like the amount of information that they're given. But take the tools you're given to you for free, essentially,
Absolutely,
and use them for what they are. Don't neglect them the same way you wouldn't, watch a couple of the Becker videos and go take your CPA. Don't go on social media for the reasons of I'm just going to look at everyone's stuff. And, there's so much good information on social media that's free.
Yes.
That you can essentially learn everything. And that's what I wanted to kind of wrap up the podcast and talk about your stuff too.
Yes.
Is Professor Farhat offers some of the best, if not, I haven't looked at Becker yet. I know Wiley's not very good. Sorry.
I'm not competing with any of them, but go ahead, please. I don't want to be put on a comparison.
So I don't know what Becker looks like. I've heard it's very good. I heard it's the best, if not the best. But I can say that through personal experience, through friends have talked to me about it, and people that are probably going to watch this podcast will say it. And just the trial. You go to your YouTube comment section, yes, and you see like, thank you. And now they took away the dislikes on YouTube, so you can't see who disliked the video. You look at the likes to dislikes. I'm sure you have 1 or 2 or 0 dislikes on
99% likes.
Exactly.
That's right.
Because it's proven, it's there, and it's something about, I think, like you were telling me in the car earlier, you were born to be a teacher.
I believe so. Yeah, that's what I'm good at. The reason I said I don't want to compare myself to anyone, Becker, Wiley, or Roger, because two different things. When people have Becker is a review course. There's a huge difference between a review course, a CPA review course, versus what I do. What I do is teach, which is totally different. Becker, Wiley, and the other CPA review course, they assume you already know it and they're reviewing it with you. I teach it from scratch. And that's the main difference. That's why I cannot be compared to them. For one thing, I cannot be, because the size-wise, it's like not comparable. And also what I do, we have two different products. And this is what most people don't understand is I'm different. Not better, not worse, different. I can help you understand it better. That's it.
100%. And real quick, just some closing thoughts is like using it together too, because like I said, I haven't started my CPA study, but I know that everything you've put out online has helped me tremendously. And we talked about this as well earlier.
Yes. Is
setting a foundation. And like you said, you're different from Becker. You're different from Wiley. You're different from XYZ. Insert the CPA prepare exam name, whatever they are, because you teach.
Yes.
A lot of them just review. And a lot of times we're talking about, if you don't understand the concepts and the basics of a simple calculation, let's just say depreciation, for example.
Yes.
One of the simplest, in my opinion, I find it very easy.
Yes.
If you can't do a simple straight line method or understand double declining balance or whatever that might be, how are you going to be doing maker's depreciation for tax, right?
Exactly.
You will never understand what it means, the implications of what depreciation means for your taxes, for your income, what accounts it goes into. So, for people not understanding out there, the basics, how important is the basics?
I just see it's a great comment. In my opinion, the CPA exam test you on the basic concept. And I mentioned this, but the way they package it, it looks intimidating, it looks scary. But I have 10 years worth of questions from the AI CPA. So I have 1,500 questions on my website, in addition to all my other questions. There are AI CPA previously released questions. If you look at all these questions, they are testing you on basic accounting concepts. Most of them are from Financial Accounting 101 when it comes to the financial accounting and reporting section. Except it's packaged in a way, if you don't understand it, you won't be able to answer it. But if you understand it, you think this is simple. Why are they asking these simple questions? That's why understanding the basic. Now, you don't want to learn only the basics when you go to the exam. You want to learn the basic, the intermediate, and the advanced. But they're going to test you on the basic and maybe some medium, but the majority will be the basic. So the software will know if you don't know the basics, they're not going to let you pass.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly.
And I'll use a personal example as well. Like when I was learning audit this semester, I struggled. And audit's not an area people usually struggle with from what I've heard. I, for some reason, struggled. And it was as simple as understanding what the documents you use for evidence look like. Every time I heard remittance advice, bank reconciliation,
I'm lost.
What is that? What the fuck is this?
Yes, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? What is this in this flowchart? I looked through the documents on Google Images. What are they? What they look like? What they do? And I went from the worst grade in my audit class to the second highest score on my third exam.
Actually, in my audit course, I showed the document, if you remember.
Exactly.
I pulled the document and I showed them. And that's another important point to end with when accounting. In accounting, sometimes if you don't understand something, not because it's that what you are learning now is difficult, it's because you are missing some prerequisite.
Yeah.
Let's assume, just a simple example, we say equity, revenue increases equity. That's an easy concept. Well, if revenue goes up, equity goes up. But that assumption, that statement assumes you know what revenue is, you know what equity is, you know what the accounting equation is. As long as you know those three things, then okay, revenue increases equity makes sense. You can memorize it, but if you don't understand it, it's going to confuse you. So always in accounting, once you find difficulty, it's not because the topic itself is difficult. You are missing some prerequisite. There's a term you don't understand. It's defined in a previous course or in a previous chapter. Go back. And that's the beauty thing about my website is I have courses for every all accounting courses. If you need any knowledge, prior knowledge, you can go back and view it from. And the most important course is Financial Accounting 101. Because
agree.
if you struggle there, you're going to struggle in intermediate and advanced and auditing and tax. And the problem with this financial is this. There's few problems with it. When students take financial accounting, they're out of high school, freshmen, they're immature, they're not sure whether they want to study accounting or not, so they blow it. They get a C, then they get into intermediate a year or two later and they forgot a lot. Then the struggle will start. Then your weakness in intermediate will carry to governmental, advanced, then that weakness will carry to the CPA exam. And this is where people come back to me, say, okay, now we need help. What should we do? It's like, you're welcome. I mean, I'm happy to help you, but don't do that to yourself. Start from the beginning.
Last question, because you mentioned out of high school you take. What do you think about teaching accounting? And this is a whole podcast topic for itself, but what do you think about teaching accounting, finance in high school? Because, sorry to interrupt again, but, or just add this, because the stuff I learned in high school had no correlation to anything I learned in college other than math. I didn't realize how important math was. Math is very important. It's the basic blocks for anything, critical thinking and whatnot. But other than math, let's say someone wants to do finance or accounting at a young age. What do you think about teaching in high school? Some do, but
yes,
most don't.
I'm not going to criticize what they teach. I'm going to tell you what they're lacking. Have you ever read that book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad?
Yes.
Okay. He talks about...
Actually, kind of, no. I know the book.
Yes, but he talks about what high school, what they don't teach you is personal finance.
Yes,
and what high school is missing, what our education system is missing, is teaching people about banking, credit card, finance. They do teach accounting. There's some basic accounting courses, because I do have some students that know a lot when they get to college if they took the accounting 1 and 2 in high school.
Nice.
But in addition to accounting, personal finance is important, and that's what the whole education system is missing. Now, a lot of people think this is a conspiracy. It's because, you know,
keep us poor.
Exactly, keep us poor. Banking don't want you to know how interest rate, credit card works, so on and so forth. I'm not going to say whether it's a conspiracy or not. I hate to go into this. But the point is, that's reality.
Yeah. No, it's true. I went to the best school in South Florida, Suncoast High School. It's like a magnet program, IB, all this different things. Not one class was offered on personal finance. Not one class was offered on accounting. And I think truly, if it would have been taught in high school, I think that the way the mind wraps around certain information, I learned calculus at 9th grade, and I can still do calculus to this day. Because I feel like, and you know, physiologically and scientifically, the brain develops so much during that time so quickly. Anything you grasp at that time, it's
sponge.
Like, yes, and you never let it go. Algebra, geometry, pre-calc, calc 1, calc 2, whatever. Anything math related from high school, take 5 minutes and I'll be able to review it and learn it. Anything I learned my freshman year of college, maybe not so much, other than the accounting, you know? So
absolutely.
I think it's something that they should recommend in doing high school. But other than that, Professor, it's been...
I was going to say one more thing about finance. They assume is you have to learn it at home. What about if your parents did not learn it?
Yeah.
How are they going to teach it to you?
Yeah.
So if they're poor, you know, unquote poor, you're gonna be poor too. Again, and the way, I mean, we don't want to get into politics here, but the way things are going, you know, being against capitalism, it's gonna make it worse and worse. I don't want to go and we don't go there. But the point is, it's gonna get worse and worse if we don't start to teach people about the importance of money, the importance of profit, the importance of motivation.
Yeah.
Again, I'm trying to stay away from making any political statement.
Yeah. Do you mind if we get into that real quick for 5-10 minutes?
I'll stay neutral, but yes.
No. We just we just started closing out, but we wanted to talk a little bit more about something kind of interesting, because you talked about capitalism, and obviously both of us are probably proponents of capitalism. I don't know if that might get you in trouble for saying that. I'm sorry if it does. I'm being a little bit cynical.
It's your choice. You don't have to be capitalist. I'm just saying, I mean, if I have to choose between capitalism and some other system, I choose capitalism.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you're wrong. I'm right. That's my choice, and I respect yours.
And that's the thing. Like, I didn't even know what capitalism was until I went to college and understood what an economy was. You know what I'm saying? That was never pushed in my brain as a child. I had the concepts of it, because I was curious and online, but like just basic understanding. But you know what I was taught in high school? I was taught about Karl Marx. I was taught about the Communist Manifesto. I knew what communism was before I knew what capitalism was, and that shocks my brain because, I mean, just to be objective, communism doesn't work. We've seen it not work on large scales across the world on many different history is the evidence, and this is not political, it's just evidence. But you know what you said, capitalism, not just because of what the economics teach you, but because of what it teaches you in terms of value. Capitalism teaches you that the harder you work, the more you'll get out of it. And regardless of what anybody says, you very rarely see somebody work as hard as they possibly can and stay poor or stay unsuccessful. It's the people that work as hard as they can and think that they're not working hard enough, the ones that that succeed and do well in life. What are your thoughts?
Absolutely. I mean, I can tell you my own limited experience in high school, because when I came to this country, I went to high school for the last, year. So I learned a little bit about capitalism, but capitalism is basically, you don't explain oxygen. In other words, I'm not gonna teach you how to breathe. You're gonna breathe normally. And I believe capitalism is normal. People are greedy, but that's good. Greed is good in a sense that when you are greedy, you're gonna create a good product. You're gonna create a good company. You're gonna create value. And this is what motivates you to work harder. And if we all work harder, we're gonna make the society better. That's my concept. Versus saying, no, I am entitled to this or I'm entitled to that, and that's not gonna get you anywhere. Yeah. Because once you are entitled to something, you think you're entitled to something, then you're not going to work hard for it. And if you don't work hard, you don't produce, you don't create value, then we're all less off. So we're all better off if we all work harder. And the reason I don't believe in communism is simple. Even if you have a prison system and you distribute to each prisoner $100 to each person, a year later you come back, you're going to have a group of people that have nothing and a group of people that have all the money.
Exactly.
Why? This is how it works. Just because even in a small experiment, you would notice that if you have more value, if you can contribute more value to the society, you should be compensated for that. Think about when you get sick. Don't you want to go to the best doctor?
Yeah.
Right?
For sure.
Would you say this is capitalism and you're going to pay them the best? Well, yes, it is, because I want the best service. And this is what capitalism produced. Capitalism encouraged people to create and innovate. That's why we have Google. That's why we have Facebook. That's why we have Twitter. That's because we have a vibrant capitalist system. It rewards people. If you are successful, you get rewarded. Well, guess what? Work hard. You'll create large companies. You'll create employees, and you'll pay taxes, and everybody will benefit.
And the problem with communism is, like you said, it puts across this notion that you're like entitled to something. I'm 5'8", 5'9", we're on the same height, right?
Yes.
Am I complaining that I'm not being able to play in the NBA? A lot of people talk about inequity because their parents grew up poor. I'm pretty sure you grew up in third world in Lebanon.
Yes.
So, this is the thing. The immigrant example is the perfect example of why capitalism works. Because you can talk about someone who was born in this country with generational wealth and zero wealth. And you can say it's unfair for the person with zero wealth. Or maybe, let's just say, they say someone has a $10,000 of net worth from their family coming down, and another person has $1 million. The person with $1 million is better off. Of course they're better off. What about the immigrant that came here with $0?
Exactly.
And they're able to become successful.
Exactly. I'm also about helping, like if people need a head start. For example, I used financial aid. That's sort of a kind of social system in a sense that I borrowed from the government to get my education.
Sure.
But I made something out of it. I repaid it back, and I created value for myself and for others. So it's okay to help people when they're starting, but you cannot help people forever. If you help people, they don't help themselves.
Exactly.
You have to help them to stand up on their feet and create a system. Now, and capitalism is not perfect. You know that we have a lot of problem in this country. I'm not saying this. We have, racism. It exists.
Yeah.
It's just nature. But
that's human nature.
That's human nature, absolutely. But comparing capitalism to communism, definitely capitalism, it's...
And that's the thing. I was never, I mean, maybe you were taught, but I was never, because we went to high school at different times, I was never really taught that in high school. We were in the IB program. I don't know if you're familiar with International Baccalaureate, and they're very existential and talked about, Karl Marx, for example. I had to write a paper about him. Why am I writing a paper about Karl Marx? It
the knowledge perspective, that's fine. But remember, I mean, the education industry in general, they're more on the left.
Of course. But why not write a paper on Karl Marx and then Milton Friedman, and compare their ideas versus, reading the Communist Manifesto in high school. And it really blew my mind. And that's the problem, is that politics has bled now, in my opinion, into people's character. So people have now adopted the politics in terms of what they believe how society should be run into their character. So they're expecting things. I was never raised that way. Thank
exactly.
God.
I agree. Me neither.
And you are either blessed in the sense that you might get lucky, and someone might come along and offer you a job where you're making good money, and they hire you for X reason. But most people will not. Most people will live in the victim mindset and be frustrated at society rather than frustrated in themselves.
Exactly. I mean, what you have is your value. How much value? Not value. I mean, you're valuable to any. Like you might be valuable to your family. You might value your friends,
market
spouse,
value.
family. Yeah. But what makes you to make more money? You have to be valued to the market. So you have to bring something. What is that something? Well, everyone is unique. Everyone brings something else to the market. And if you don't have anything, it's time to start. Everyone is unique. You can do something. Look. Yeah. I came to this country. I had nothing. I can barely speak English, but you learn little by little, and you will get there.
Yeah.
And if not anything, you're a human. You're unique. You have something to offer.
Exactly.
Give it your full potential. Like a tree give its full potential. But the difference between us and like a tree doesn't, it keeps on growing as much as it can. The only difference between us and a tree is a tree. If there is not enough good soil, or if it's water, it will die. We're not a tree. If we don't have good soil and good water, we could move on to another area. Yeah. So there's always options. In a country like the United States, we have unlimited.
Yeah. And you can do anything you want and at any point in life.
And I'm not here trying to be critical. I'm trying to be motivator here.
Exactly. And I'm the same exact way. I want people to, and this is why I never took any debt in college and try to work and stuff like that for what I did, is because not only because I didn't want to take out any loans, but like you did, you had to take financial aid. When you took financial aid, I might have to take out a loan for another reason.
Business.
And that's business, whatever it might be. And that's putting myself, it's not taking a free handout, obviously, because you have to pay it back.
Of course.
You're taking the risk for yourself, and you're betting on yourself, which is, it's with everything in life, there's risk.
Of course.
Like to make money, you have to risk something. To be successful.
Effort,
exactly.
Time, anything, yes.
You have, the risk has to be there. There has to be a sense of insecurity that something might not go the way it will. But hope and faith and really betting on yourself, like we were saying, and in all things we talked about in this podcast, the CPA, life, school, everything. If you bet on yourself and you give yourself the patience and the time, and like we said, some people might have to work a part-time job. Some people might have to live at home a little longer. Some people might have to, maybe take a break from school and come back and revisit. Everyone's path is different. It doesn't matter when you get there. It just matters if you get there. How do you get there,
Yes, absolutely. And just to carry on your point, just as an entrepreneur now, you always when you look at things differently. For example, when I was traveling here, I used Spirit Airlines, and I saw the people who are working on the airline. I asked myself, what do they do beside this? Are they college students? And I was hoping, like, if I was in their shoes, okay, I'll be taking this job, making money now. I'll take night classes or online classes, study computer science, study accounting. In 2-3 years, I will be in the sea traveling for business, and I'll give that job to someone else to build themselves.
Exactly.
But you don't want to be a hostess, nothing against.
I agree.
Yeah, but you don't want to do this for the rest of your life, because what value are you creating?
Yeah.
Nothing for yourself, nothing. But it's a temporary thing. You make some money until you finish college. You'll get some technical degree, computer science, accounting, finance, whatever you are doing, nursing, and you move on with your life.
Exactly, and that's what I try to and I was lucky enough to have I don't know if it was YouTube or whatever it was, something in my mind sparked to where I paved the path from the normal college student to wait to start working full time and try to get a real job while I was in school. So I'm blessed that God or somebody gave me that decision. But I also started working young, and that's another thing. I think that, like you said, you have to have a shit job. Sometimes it's just the way life is.
Pay your dues.
You pay your dues.
It's going to build your character. How else are you going to build your character? Sitting and watching TV and playing video games? I mean,
exactly. And the thing is that people don't realize, for me specifically, the more I put on my plate, the better I became at managing my time, and the better I became at enjoying little moments in life. So I didn't really get to travel much during college. All my friends, Paris, France, everywhere, all over Europe, wherever, different places. I didn't travel much, but because I decided to take sacrifices and work and save money. But as you start to like really dive into the whole self-help and success thing and trying to save money and all this stuff and do well for yourself, you start to find moments in, hey, I'm going to go out of town for 2 days, and you enjoy the hell out of those 2 days.
Yeah, of course.
And for me, that's what life's about.
Yeah, in the Bible, they talk about this, where, you enjoy the fruit of your labor.
Yes.
If they give you the fruit, it's not as enjoyable as if you grow it and pick it up yourself. And talking about the more you put on your plate, you're in the fitness industry, and you understand muscles. For the muscles to grow, they have to come under stress to be stronger. Same thing as individual. Exactly. And this is how you grow. If you're not, I tell my students, if you don't feel stressful in my class, then you're not learning. Yeah. If you feel this is easy, then I'm not doing my job. Yeah. And I tell them, do the same thing in every class. In classes, it's minor stuff, but in real life, you need to, this is not really stress classroom. But what I'm saying is, if in life you're not going through some stress, then you're not growing. Because this is how you grow. It's stress, then you can, the more you put on your plate, the more you can manage. And next time you can put more, and so on and so forth, and you grow. And it compounds.
And there's limitations, obviously. We talked about that too. You can do too much, but most people, even myself, I'm not doing enough. People can always do more. You can always do more. There's somebody out there doing 10 times as much as you're doing and doing better at that than you are.
Think about it. We all have the same amount of time every day. It's like what you do with your time, it's up to you. Yeah. Absolutely. It's a choice.
And as a young guy, like I still, I'm not perfect. I'm not a guy
no one is.
Routine everything. And there's times where I slip up. Actually, a lot of times.
Of course. Same here.
And that's the thing. You need to realize that it's not how perfect you are, it's how consistent you are.
Absolutely.
It's not about hitting it every day. It's not about, do I have the best workouts every day? No. When I sit down and study, do I study for the 5 hours that I say I'm going to study for? Sometimes no. Sometimes it's 2 hours. Sometimes it's an hour on the phone, whatever. But it's how consistent can you get better, Exactly. How consistently can you hit the 4 out of 5 days out of the week? That's the most
important, the consistency. Even if you, small incremental steps. I mean, think about this. If you can improve something only 1/10 of a percent, not 1%, 1/10 a day. So every 10 days you can improve 1%. Takes you how many days to improve double? Like, think about it. 10 days times what? 300, how many? 365 days divided by 10.
36
10 days. 36 10 days to kind of double your performance in something.
Exactly.
But it's that small, like I'm saying, 0.1% if you improve that little. And again, this is from Jordan Peterson. This is not me talking. I want to steal that away from
I heard that too.
But the other thing that you mentioned I wanted to touch upon is you said, you just mentioned something about fitness. You said, working out. There's a saying, the bad workout is when you don't work out. That's the only bad workout, right? Mm-hmm. So the same thing. It's when you don't do anything, this is really bad. But even if you go to the gym, and I'm not really, a gym guy, but I always go to the gym. I say, if they're going to rank the people in the gym, I'll be like always at the bottom. But the point is I still go, because I want to be healthy. But if I say, well, it's not worth it, then, my health will deteriorate further. So even not going to the gym is the worst gym day.
Exactly.
That's the point.
And as you continue to do something, like for the CPA, for example,
little by
little, you watch one of his videos a day for the first 2 months, just one video a day, just to get yourself familiarized with what's to come. And then next you're like, okay, I'm going to do 3 videos a day, or I'm going to do 2 topics in a week, or whatever it might be. And you slowly build. And then now, like for me, the gym or me exercising is like, it's like brushing my teeth. It's like, I do it every day, no matter what. Work is the same thing. I have, a certain amount of hours in a day. It's just routine for me. Once you get to that point, it becomes almost harder to not do it than it is to
second
do it.
nature.
Exactly.
It becomes part of who you are. Absolutely.
And it doesn't take that long for that to happen.
No.
Maybe 9 months, maybe a year.
I mean, your brain is rewired.
Yeah.
I mean, again, it's a habit. Once you train your brain to a habit, it doesn't take any effort anymore. You don't feel the pain anymore.
And you can. It's not like it's impossible. And once
course.
you do, it's like your world changes, your life
Again,
changes.
we're not a tree. A tree can't move. If a tree doesn't have a good soil, it will die. But we can move.
Exactly.
That's the difference between us and a tree.
100%. Professor, it's been a pleasure talking about all this stuff. We're gonna do it again. I don't know when, but hopefully
when I come back
in
to
the near future.
South
So
Florida.
it would be a pleasure. Real quick before we kind of close out the podcast, do you have any last regards? And then when anyone can find you, because I have a couple friends that are interested graduating, they want to do their CPA. Where can they find you? And what do you offer?
I am on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram. My email is my first name, Mansour.Farhat, Farhat @gmail. You can reach me through email, LinkedIn, Instagram. If you don't have a LinkedIn, create a LinkedIn account. I'm always available. What I provide is supplemental material. So if you're studying for the CPA exam, most likely you're going to have a Becker, Roger, Gleam, some course. The difference between what I do and those courses is I teach you the material. I don't assume any knowledge. Even if you learn it in college, you might have forgot it or you never learn it. You're going to find hard time with the CPA course. Use my material. And I hope to meet all of you.
Yeah. He teaches the best CPA material.
Thank you.
With a little asterisk, I haven't seen Becker yet. And Peter.
Different.
Peter
Alento.
You know him personally?
I don't know Peter. No.
I just know he screams every time I see on the ad. He's like knocking on the. Have you seen the ads before?
Yes. He shakes the screen. I don't know why they're that desperate. I mean, they have the market. They're like they're almost like, I don't know, maybe they control 90%.
Like
I don't know
monopoly.
the percentage. Close to monopoly, if they're not a monopoly.
But yeah, guys, make sure to go check
they
out.
act like they're like a startup. I'm just kidding.
No, that's true. I mean, maybe that's why it works.
Exactly. You got to always be nervous, man. You got to be always, the best defense is offense.
Yeah, exactly. But there's a lot of different, there's something Ninja, CPA Ninja. There's Quick CPA, there's Wiley, there's Roger, Gleam.
There's Surgeon. There's a lot.
There's a lot of different CPA stuff. But for supplemental, like Professor Farhat said, on top of your program, and some of the best, if not the best, YouTube content for accounting, make sure to go check him out. His links will be in the bio for this podcast, and then we'll also throw, if anyone ever asks me about your stuff, I'll always send them his way. And
thank you.
And you could tell just from this podcast and the way he talks and the way he kind of portrays his persona is reflected through your videos as well, even though you don't see yourself 90% of the time.
Yes, 99%.
99%. Anyways.
I don't want people to be distracted with my face.
Anyways, Professor, thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been another Buff Talk. For Mansour Farhat, aka Professor Farhat, Farhat Lectures on YouTube. I'm Old School Matt. Thank you guys for watching. Take care. Peace.
Hey guys, thank you guys for checking out this video. Make sure to go check out all of our other podcasts, Buffalo Barbecues, our Buffalo Workouts, and also a slew of other things, including challenges and whatnot. So make sure to check out all of these different things. Thank you guys for watching. I am Old School Matt here, and this is Water Buffalo TM. Peace.